All right, in this explainer, we're going to look past the monument, beyond the icon to really understand the man, Martin Luther King Jr. We're going to dive into the courage, the incredible strategy, and the immense personal price he paid in his fight to change an entire nation.
Okay, so let's start with the one idea that, honestly, it unlocks everything else about him. This quote you see here, it's not just a nice line for a poster. It was the absolute core of his philosophy. If you really want to understand his journey, you have to get this one conviction. To be truly free, you've got to conquer the ultimate fear first.
So, to really get the leader he became, we've got to go back. We need to start with the young man he was and the world that shaped him, long before he ever became a household name.
His early years were, well, they were a pretty clear sign of what was to come. Just look at this timeline. The guy was brilliant, entering Morehouse College at only 15 years old. That kind of accelerated path, it really laid the groundwork, both academically and personally, for everything that followed, his ministry and, of course, his activism.
And here's the thing you have to understand. For Martin Luther King Jr., this fight for justice, it wasn't some career path he picked out. It was his inheritance. He was literally born into it. Yes, he was raised in the church, but he was also raised in the struggle. His father was a leader in both. You could really say that activism was in his blood.
Okay, so with that foundation in place, let's jump to a pivotal moment. We're going to Montgomery, Alabama, where a local pastor gets called up to lead, and in the process, puts a totally revolutionary new strategy for change to the test.
So what was this new strategy? Well, this was his weapon of choice. He was hugely inspired by Gandhi, and his philosophy was, well, it was radical for the time. It was all about nonviolent protest and civil disobedience. And what does that mean? It means you deliberately and peacefully break laws that are unjust. The whole idea was to confront this deep-seated hatred not with more violence, not with fists, but with pure moral force. You expose how ugly the injustice is by refusing to sink to its level.
And right here, this is how that philosophy looked in the real world. It all started with a single spark, right? Rosa Parks' arrest. But what happened next? That wasn't just about moral courage. It was strategically brilliant. King steps up to lead the Montgomery Bus Boycott, and together, the community puts this crushing economic pressure on the system. For 381 days, think about that, over a year, they held the line. And the result? A huge Supreme Court victory that proved nonviolence wasn't just the right thing to do, it was powerful.
But here's the brutal reality. Just because you choose peace doesn't mean you're met with peace, not even close. This path of nonviolence, it came with an unbelievably high price. It was a daily test of his resolve, his freedom, and the safety of his own family.
Just let this number sink in for a second. Over 20 times. He was arrested over 20 times. This wasn't some leader directing things from a safe distance. No, he was right there on the front lines, and every single time he was put in a jail cell, it was a deliberate, powerful act of protest.
And this quote from his daughter, it just hits you, right? It brings the enormous weight of this whole fight right down to a human level. Suddenly, it's not just a political struggle in a textbook, it's a family struggle. Can you even imagine trying to explain to your little kid why being called a jailbird at school is actually a mark of honor? And then came this, the moment his philosophy and his family faced the absolute ultimate test. It is one thing to stand up and preach nonviolence. It is a whole other thing to live it when someone literally tries to murder your wife and your infant daughter by bombing your house. His response to this? It's just astonishing. You have to picture it. An armed, angry mob is outside his bombed-out house. They are ready for revenge. And he walks out onto his porch, raises his hand for calm, and starts preaching love. In that moment, facing pure, unadulterated hate, he didn't just stop a riot. He gave a masterclass in his entire belief system for the whole world to see. And that moment, that unbelievable display of courage, it created this unstoppable momentum. From that one bombed-out porch in Montgomery, King's call for a new, better America was about to echo across the entire nation. The scale of his work in the years that followed is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. 6 million miles traveled. To put that in perspective, that is like flying to the moon and back 12 times. He gave 2,500 speeches. This wasn't just a movement, it was a relentless crusade for the soul of America. And the world was taking notice.
And of course, then there was this moment, the March on Washington. Standing there on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, he laid out a vision for America that didn't just inspire a nation, it captured the imagination of the entire world.
It was, in many ways, the moral climax of the movement, a powerful, powerful call for the nation to finally live up to its own promises.
And this is so crucial. All of it, the marches, the speeches, the jail time, it wasn't just for show. It wasn't just symbolic. It had a direct, and I mean monumental, effect. The moral pressure they built, especially after the world saw the horrific violence in Selma, it forced the government's hand. And that led directly to landmark laws, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, that changed the face of America forever.
Then, on April 4th, 1968, an assassin's bullet tragically ended his life. But it could not end his work. And that's because his true legacy, when you really get down to it, wasn't just about what he accomplished. It was about the courage he ignited in so many other people.
You know, even in his final days, his mission was actually getting bigger. The reason he was in Memphis when he was killed, he was there to support striking garbage workers. He was fighting for their economic justice, for people being denied basic rights and simple dignity. For him, the fight against racism and the fight against poverty were two sides of the same exact coin.
And this quote, this is what it's all about. This shows the true measure of his impact. His legacy isn't some list of awards or accomplishments. No, it's found in the stories of countless people you've never heard of. The foot soldiers like Georgia Reed, ordinary people, a cook, who found this extraordinary courage inside themselves to stand up and demand their dignity.
So when you look at the whole story, it's so much more than just history, right? It's a powerful lesson. It shows us that one person, armed with an unshakable conviction and a deep willingness to face down their own fear, really can, as he said, bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice.